When the Tony La Russa news broke yesterday, I knew I wanted to talk to somebody about it today, and I'd like to talk to an expert about things, but I also wanted to talk to somebody with a little bit of flavor, a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of irrational fandom for their team. And I said, that's White Sox Dave. That's White Sox Dave from Barstool Sports and co-host of Redline Radio. You can find that on Sirius. Dave, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, Dave. Thanks for joining us this morning. By the way, follow Dave on Twitter at Barstool WSD. I think you're going to enjoy following him. There's a lot of great stuff up on that Twitter feed.
So, Dave, real quick before we get into what is at hand, I got to ask, how you feeling? If our listeners don't know, you recently came down with a nasty case of COVID. Is that waning out for you?
Yeah, I'm completely fine. I just lost all my taste and smell. I will be all right. I can officially stop quarantining come Sunday, so looking forward to it.
So big afternoon out with Justin Turner. I think we should be first thing you do.
Yeah. I mean, apparently I'll have antibodies, and I can't get it again for at least 6 months, so I'm looking forward to just kind of living life again. Hopefully we'll be able to do that inside a baseball stadium come spring, though, right?
Yeah. That would be great. That would be great. See the cutouts go into the dumpster and real people sitting in seats.
That'd be good. So, all right. So let's rewind a little bit to this La Russa story. About maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago, when you saw the Bob Nightingale story, and Bob Nightingale is what Bob Nightingale is. He throws a bunch of stuff against the wall. How much did you believe this was an option? The Tony La Russa management coming yesterday. You know, when Bob Nightingale broke that story, did you believe it at all?
I mean, yesterday, obviously, yeah. But when, like you said it best, when Bob Nightingale says something that comes out of left field, I'm sorry for the pun, at 7:30 in the morning, you always take it with a grain of salt. You know, he gets used a lot, I'll put it that way, and that's all I kind of chalked it up to being, is just for whatever reason they thought that they needed leverage with whoever else they were considering, whether it be AJ Hinch, Alex Cora, whoever that is, and then all of a sudden, like over the last couple of days, it snowballed into an actual hire. So here we are. I'll say this: I don't hate it nearly as much as other people seem to hate it. I think that he's as good a baseball guy as we've seen, at least in my lifetime. I'm 32 years old. He's been around much longer than that, obviously, but I don't think just because he's 76, hasn't managed in almost a decade, that he all of a sudden just lost his chops on how to make a pitching change or construct a lineup. So the White Sox are absolutely better today, and they're better with Tony La Russa in the dugout than they were when they ended the 2020 season, and I don't think anybody can argue that.
So there's some argument. I mean, some people have been saying, "Whoa, you should have just kept Ricky Renteria." This is an upgrade from Ricky Renteria in your eyes.
It's 1,000% an upgrade. The people who are mad about this hiring are completely misdirecting their anger. I think that Tony La Russa will be absolutely fine day to day in the dugout. I think that we all know he's smart. He's got his Juris Doctor from Florida State. He's a lawyer. He's bilingual. I got an email from this random kid yesterday who reached out to me, who's a minor leaguer in the Red Sox system, and he said that Tony La Russa has gone to spring training and helped out with the Red Sox and makes it a point to get to know everybody on a personal level. He's fluent. He develops a really good rapport with the Latin American and Spanish speaking part of the organization. He's like, this guy knows what he's doing. People I don't understand where people are mad. And my anger is because it's like Jeff Passan, he tweeted it yesterday, and he had a whole hit on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt last night, that this was Jerry Reinsdorf, his hire. He wants to make right the firing, what was it, in 1986 with Hawk Harrelson. And the rest of the front office didn't really have a say in the direction they went. And that just drives me absurdly crazy, because we've all seen how Jerry Reinsdorf teams operate, like both Bulls and White Sox. We saw with The Last Dance when they could have gone for 7 or 8, the documentary from the summer. It's just, I don't understand why he's got to meddle with the people in the front offices that he hires and puts in place to put the organizations that he owns in the best place to win. And it's a never-ending story with this guy, and I can't stand him anymore.
Dave, of all the reaction to the hiring of Tony La Russa, all the negative reaction that we saw flying around, you dismiss some of it as just being ridiculous. What did you find valid that people were upset about that you looked at and went, all right, I kind of understand where you're coming from here?
I think that his age is absolutely of concern. Like, I'm not going to act like I know Tony La Russa or know anything about his health, but he is 76. And if all of a sudden, like, what if come July, he realizes, like, hey, I actually can't put up with the haul of a 162-game season. I made a mistake. I got to hang him up again. And then they're back to square one. And, I mean, you don't want that kind of you want consistency in the clubhouse. Like, if they're going to be on manager 3 in some part of 2021, or he's only here for a year or so, like, where's the consistency? I would have liked to see someone who can be here for the next 12 years. Obviously, that's not Tony La Russa, so I don't know. Like, I think that's an absolutely valid concern. Obviously, what if he gets COVID? That affects people that are, in older age brackets, and he's absolutely in an older age bracket at this point. So I think those are the two biggest concerns. At least those are the two biggest concerns I have.
The biggest complaint we're hearing from, and when I say hearing complaint, I'm talking about Twitter, which, take that with whatever grain of salt you want. Right. But the biggest complaint you hear is how he's going to interact with the locker room. The White Sox have a unique locker room. It's, they take back the game. They have their own messaging. We're talking about the same guy that managed Ricky Henderson back in the day. I really don't think that's going to be the biggest problem. I think one of the bigger problems is he up to speed with the way baseball's played today? Will he be, open to some of these newer ideas that have popped up in the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, another great question. A fair question and a fair concern for everybody. I thought that he absolutely nailed his press conference yesterday. Obviously, it was over Zoom, so he doesn't really have to be under quite the heat lamp, but I thought he was great in it. Obviously, he's had comments about how he was against kneeling back in 2016. I thought his answer to that question yesterday was fantastic about how Tim Anderson, he loves watching him play, and how he brings an excitement to the game. He's like, hey, people change over time. Back when I was playing and managing, you didn't do any of that stuff because you're getting a ball to the ear hole. Now it's not quite the same. Like, there's a different flair, and you'd be stupid not to adapt, because if you don't adapt in this game, you'll die and you'll get replaced, and the game passes everybody by eventually unless you do evolve with it. So I thought his press conference yesterday answered all those questions more than adequately, and if I were against the hire for him being. If I was mad at the hire because I didn't think he could manage day to day, and that I thought that he'd be like a nuisance in the clubhouse because he's so old school, that press conference he had yesterday absolutely answered those questions and would have changed my mind. I think that he was that polished and ready to answer all the hard questions yesterday.
And plus, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a guy who is old school, however you want to quantify the term old school, couldn't teach younger guys a couple of things.
No, absolutely. And, you saw it last year. Like, there was lax in I don't want to say confidence. There were moments of stupidity last year, up and down either the lineup or in the field defensively, whatever it may be, that I would have put the blame on Ricky Renteria. And now with Tony La Russa managing, I don't think you'll see any of this, I'll call them mental lapses, quite as much. And I think Tony La Russa is an absolute master at that, at getting a team prepared. And I saw this yesterday on Twitter. He's a lawyer. Tony La Russa's got his JD from FSU, and if you don't think he's an analytical person, you're crazy, because any lawyer by nature has to be analytical. And if he doesn't, embrace the information that he's going to be getting from the White Sox analytics department, they would have never hired him, and he'd be stupid not to take that information and at least use it as a reference. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff whatsoever. It's just like I keep going back, and it drives me crazy as a White Sox fan that Jerry Reinsdorf had to meddle in this whole process. So that's like every time I go on a rant, it always starts and then ends again with Jerry Reinsdorf.
It does seem to be your biggest point. You're not necessarily mad about the hire. You're just kind of the optics of everything involved just isn't working.
Bad.
Yeah, and Riley, you brought it up. Can't the players learn something from an older manager like this? I think that absolutely it is. From what you know about La Russa, Dave, is the opposite true? Will La Russa maybe learn something from this young core of kids?
Yeah, and I've said this yesterday too. Like they're people, and I think that a lot of people just love being outraged for being outraged sakes these days. Mm-hmm. The people are that just because like him, Tony La Russa, and a few of these guys on the team, they have different political or social views or different views on how to have fun in the game of baseball. It doesn't mean they can't coexist. Like, I think that people can be adults in spite of having different opinions on whatever it is. And you can actually, like, I think that can breed good conversation between Tim Anderson or Lucas Giolito and Tony La Russa. People they're like hell-bent that that's impossible and that they're automatically going to hate each other, which is just, it doesn't compute with me. Like, that's how it goes on the internet and on Twitter. Everybody just is conditioned to hate the opposing view these days. I don't think that has to be the case in real life, especially in the locker room. And if I'm Tim Anderson and I'm reading all this stuff on Twitter, I think I'd be a little offended saying, hey, like, you guys don't think I can work with this guy? Like, you think that I'm not professional enough to be able to work with this guy just because we have a difference in opinion? Like, I'd be offended at that. And I'd make it a point to go out of my way to be like, hey, Tony, like, we're going to be working together for at least, the next year plus. Let's make this happen. Let's go win a World Series. And I think that's the ultimate goal for both Tony La Russa and the players on the team. So I'm not like, it all drives me crazy. And like I said at the beginning of the interview, I think people's anger at the hire is completely misdirected. And that's one example why right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Out of all the grumbling we've heard about La Russa, none of it has been from within the clubhouse.
No, not at all. And I talked to a few players. They're surprised. I wouldn't say they're mad. They were just surprised because they didn't expect it. But they're like ready to. They're like one of the players was laughing at me yesterday. He's like, hey, you need to relax. Like, we got a good clubhouse. We're gonna be fine. Like, it doesn't matter who's managing us. We got a good thing going, and we won't let anything change that. So there you go. There's your answer right there. Like, from a player's perspective.
Real quick before we let you go, how many days before we see a TikTok viral video of Tim Anderson teaching Tony La Russa how to bat flip or something like that? I hope it's as soon as they're allowed to get together, assuming that there's going to be normal spring training. I think that'd be a great way to break the ice with the fan base. And I think that would like kind of release a lot of stress off people's minds. I think that's a great idea, and I'm going to tell them that, and I'm going to steal that for me. It's quite all right.
Nice.
Feel free. That's
my idea.
That's a free one. Thanks, Dave. Redline Radio, where can people listen to you on that?
That's on iTunes, and we're on, well, I'm not right now because of COVID and my disease that I'm carrying, but Redline Radio every Thursday. Just had Kyle Long on, Bears offensive lineman.
Great interview, too.
Oh, great guy. Awesome. Love him. And then Sirius XM every day, 2 to 3 p.m. once I get rid of this virus.
Outstanding. Dave, we really appreciate you carving time out of your schedule for us. Hope you're feeling better really soon, and we'd love to get together and kick this around again.
Sounds good. Anytime, fellas.
Appreciate it. There's White Sox Dave. You can follow him on Twitter at Barstool WSD.